Hey, here we are. Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Friday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction and Roofing. If you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. If you need a roof, you call Parish. It's just what you do. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com, Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com, and On Fire Athletes. Platform powered by GameCoin. Okay, y'all, good morning. We'll say some good mornings here. One half of the college football playoff national championship game is set. Notre Dame keep chugging along, man. They beat Penn State. It's really interesting because you look at a team like Notre Dame. If you watched the game, you all saw it. It was Penn State was up 10-0 in the ball game, and then Notre Dame tied it, and then ultimately took a lead. Penn State tied it at 17. Notre Dame throws a pick. Penn State goes up 24-17. Penn State has a busted play where a kid falls down. Notre Dame scores on the big play to tie it. And then Penn State gets the stop. They trade punts, and you think, all right, well, Penn State's got a shot here with 40 seconds, a couple timeouts to go win the game. And Drew Aller throws a devastating pick, and Notre Dame kicks the game-winning field goal. So it's interesting because all the narratives that surround coaches and thoughts and stuff, like the big game James stuff with James Franklin, like he was absolutely right to try to go kick a game-winning field goal. In the fourth quarter, nobody stopped anybody. And on the first play, if you remember, they ran a draw. And it was one of those things like, let's see how this goes. And then you make the decision if you're going to go. And so they run the draw play, and he gets 13 yards and gets out of bounds. And so they're all right, we're going. So the next play, they called a conservative play because everybody's crapping on James Franklin. It's just not right. They called a conservative play. And Drew Aller, he's looking to his left. He's got Tyler Warren over there. It's covered. He needs to throw it into the 10th row. Instead, he throws it back over the middle of the field and gets picked. Like, is that James Franklin's fault that his quarterback, who is, how many games has Drew Aller played in his career? Drew Aller has played in 38 games. I mean, you got a guy that's been a 3-year starter. Your 3-year starter makes that mistake in the biggest moment of his life. I mean, come on. Like, how's that James Franklin's fault? Anyway, but people get attached to narratives. Same thing. Like, as soon as the game ended last night, my Twitter was all just Brian Kelly, this LSU got the wrong guy. Brian Kelly was holding Notre Dame back. Like, is that really the takeaway that people have? Boy, it's funny too, I guess, maybe just because people can be such prisoners of the moment. And maybe I'm just looking through like a Twitter prism. And Twitter isn't real life. It's such a microscopic fraction of humanity that exists on Twitter, but that is where people go to react. And so you realize that if one person's thinking it, multiple people are thinking it. And that was like my whole Twitter mentions all last night was all the Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly was the guy holding him back all along, but whatever. I'm going, okay, so, and I wouldn't look this up, and this is on Locked On today. So Lou Holtz had his last double-digit win season in 1994. And then Lou's last season was 2 years later in 1996. And then they went from Bob Davie to Tyrone Willingham to Charlie Weiss. And from 1994 until Brian Kelly was hired in 2010, Notre Dame had 2 double-digit win seasons. Ty Willingham had a 10-3 season, and Charlie Weiss had a 10-3 season. That's it. And by the way, Charlie Weiss's 10-3 season was when they went 10-2 and got blasted by LSU in the Sugar Bowl. So then Brian Kelly gets there, and he goes 8-5, 8-5, and then his third year, boom, they go 12-0 and play for Bama, play for the championship against Bama in his third year. And over the course of Brian Kelly's 12 years in South Bend, he had 7 double-digit win seasons, including each of his last 4. His last season in South Bend, they were ranked 5th in the country. So, by the way, if there were a 12-team playoff then, Brian Kelly's Irish would have been in the playoff, and he would have never become the LSU coach. Let me also mention that Marcus Freeman's team this year would not have been in a 4-team playoff, which Brian Kelly did twice and got his team in the BCS National Championship game where you had to be one of 2. So I've always advocated for an expanded playoff for this exact reason. Because if we were in the 4-team playoff, your playoff would have been Oregon against Penn State and Texas against Georgia. That would have been your playoff. And the only team remaining among those 4 is Texas, and they may lose tonight. So I'm happy for the playoff. I think we're going to see fun games like that and great results, and really good teams who are worthy of getting in there and competing for it are going to get to prove it on the field instead of having the dopes in the hotel ballroom in suburban Dallas decide who's good enough to be in a championship because of, defensive efficiency metrics and game control and stuff like that. So anyway, my point will remain: 2 things can be true at the same time. Just like with the Bryce Underwood stuff, I told you this. 2 things can be true at the same time. You can be disappointed. Like, you can want Bryce Underwood. And that is true. And he can be a great player and he could win for you and all that sort of stuff. And you could be disappointed that he's not here. But also true is you have a path forward to a championship without Bryce Underwood. And you're seeing that already in the month since he flipped. 2 things can be true. Brian Kelly did an amazing job at Notre Dame, brought them to heights they had never been to, bumped up against the glass ceiling there, and came to LSU because he felt like he had a better chance to win here. And I think he's proven that. And Marcus Freeman can be a good coach who inherited a great situation and is building upon something that he inherited in a different era, in a portal NIL expanded playoff era. So congrats, man. Congrats to Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman. But it is interesting with the game, too, because, man, the last 2 games, Notre Dame wasn't necessarily, I don't think, the better team in either game, but my goodness, were they opportunistic. And you hang around. When you have an opportunity to make a play, you make it. And Notre Dame's done it. So biggest test still to come in the championship game a week from Monday. All right, let's say good morning, y'all. Please smash that like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the page, share the post. We appreciate y'all for being there with us. Hey, Thomas, good morning. 1-year anniversary of Bama burning. Is today the anniversary of Saban's retirement? That wasn't the first Bama is burning. That was the Saban retirement was when it went bonkers, when went burning around the studio when Russ was on with us. But that was a fun day. But I guess that was when the flame was ignited. Hey, Christian, good morning. Thomas, BK is also a better coach than Freeman. Locked On was good. Thank you for listening to Locked On, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, listen, Brian Kelly is the winningest active coach in college football. I understand that it's hard for Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman will always be measured against each other. And I understand that, right? I mean, Kelly left Notre Dame. Notre Dame felt spurned by that. They replaced him with Freeman. But can I also remind you that Brian Kelly hired Marcus Freeman? Pretty good eye for talent. When LSU was trying to hire Marcus Freeman. Hey, Brian, good morning from a snowy Chicago. Taylor, Merrick, Darren, good morning. Good morning. David, good morning. Thomas, we'll get it, man. Hey, Sean, good morning. Happy for Marcus Freeman. Seems like a good guy. I think they match up well against Texas and Ohio State. Fun next few weeks. Marcus Freeman I'll tell you this, Marcus Freeman has definitely brought a different cool factor to Notre Dame. Like, he's an objectively, he's like a young, good-looking guy, fit, played major college football, played in the NFL. He brings a certain kind of cachet, like a cool factor to Notre Dame that hasn't been in Notre Dame in a long time. That's true. Yeah, actually, I remember I was talking about this with RC. So Marcus Freeman before the season went on the pivot with Ryan, Channing, and Fred. And that was pretty intentional, to to try to show people around the country, like, you can come to Notre Dame. Like, it's, I think that's been I think it's been a very intentional push by Freeman, is to try to make Notre Dame more appealing. There's a lot of people who don't like Notre Dame just because they're Notre Dame. Hey, Chewalt1, good morning. Brad David, good morning. If LSU wins the College World Series, can you jump in your pool like you did 2 years ago? Deal. Bet. Brad, I'll do it every time LSU wins the College World Series. How about that? Hey, Quentin, good morning. Seth, good morning. As long as James Franklin's at Penn State, they'll be good enough to get to the big game, not good enough to win it. Yeah, again, man, like, I'm not buying that narrative. Like, I don't know how. I mean, ultimately everything goes back to the coach, right? I mean, the coach gets the credit, coach gets the blame. But, like, you're in that situation right there. You have a DB that falls down. Like, you're winning the game, and your defensive back literally falls down, so their receiver gets a walk-in touchdown. Like, how is that James Franklin's fault? And then your quarterback, who started 38 games, instead of throwing the ball away in a not a 2-minute situation, a 40-second situation, instead of throwing the ball away and getting the 2nd and 10, he throws back over the middle of the field. Come on, man. Like, how is that James Franklin's fault? Like, that's that. I mean, I understand the narrative on Franklin, and and a lot of that is earned. But I think a big problem they've had at Penn State is they haven't historically had the horses, right, to, when you get in that type of game, to win it. Like, at some point, like, players have to execute too. I mean, if you go back and look at 4 quarters of football where their decisions James Franklin made that might have cost his team, like, look at the possession early in the game where they had the ball down at the goal to go situation and they threw it. Well, again, you missed an open receiver. You end up settling for a field goal from the 3-yard line. I mean, could you have dialed up better plays there? Sure, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, man. That was really hard for me to lay at the feet of James Franklin, though. And by the way, I have no problem. Anyone who today is saying they should have sat on the ball, that is hindsight 2020. You all know 48 seconds, tie ball game, field goal wins it. Like, you have, and by the way, nobody in the fourth quarter got a stop. I mean, both teams are just going up and down the field on each other. Like, you're going to tell me you would have been cool with your coach sitting on the ball and going overtime? Oh, man, that's some hindsight's 2020 weak sauce. Hey, Jason, good morning. Bill Schmid, good morning. Guy Brooks, good morning. Happy Friday. Thomas, 3 inches still falling in northern Alabama. Whoo. Not into snow, man. Hey, Kelly, good morning. Brian Jones. Gary, good morning. I thought if you declare you can't transfer, how does that work? Oh, I guess you're talking about Carson Beck. So Carson Beck last week declared for the draft. Now he's entered the transfer portal. So you can always change your mind and return to school after you've declared, so long as you as you haven't filed the paperwork and the deadline hasn't passed. So the deadline for underclassmen to declare for the draft is the 15th. So, and everybody has 5 days after your bowl game, after your season ends, to enter the portal. So my guess is what happened is Carson Beck declared for the draft, got his feedback from the draft advisory board, but also entered the portal to give himself options. So he may, like, Thatcher Hurd did this in baseball. After last season, Thatcher Hurd entered the portal, but he also went in the draft. He went in the portal basically to give himself options if the draft didn't go how he wanted. Now, it's different in baseball because you can still go back to school after the draft. Now, in football, you got to make a decision by the 15th. But I think what happened here was that Carson Beck went into the portal to give himself an option. He's got 5 more days to decide. He can get more feedback from NFL teams on draft prospects, all that sort of stuff, and then he can make a decision. So either he stays he stays with his draft declaration, goes in the draft, or he makes a decision to play another year of college football. He can go back to Georgia. He can leave Georgia, go in the portal somewhere. He's dating one of the Cavender twins down at Miami. They just lost Cam Ward. That might be a landing spot. They give him a couple mil or whatever it is to go play his final season in Miami. That could be something that happens. So I think Beck entered the portal just to give himself options. Oh, it is 7:34. Hang on one second. I got to stop Drew's sound machine. Hang on. All right, Thomas, here you go. As always, day whatever today is.
Parish Construction and Roofing. At Parish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parish Construction and Roofing. Parish built. Parish built. Parish built. From your hometown, parishbuilt.com.
Okay. Parish Construction and Roofing. Do business with someone you know. Love to give you that free, no obligation roofing inspection. Let's see. Where am I? Here we go. DraftKings made a post along the lines, BK leaving Notre Dame to get to a natty. Now look at Notre Dame. The SEC is a tad bit tougher than a team, not even in a conference. That's true. Listen, Brian Kelly's also he has had missteps here, but I think he's also poised next year. He's positioned in 2025 best as he's been since he's been at LSU. And I'll also remind you that Notre Dame hasn't won the Natty yet. What if they go a week from Monday, play in the Natty, and they get run by either Texas or Notre Dame or Ohio State? Are you in any different situation than you were with Brian Kelly? Hey, Ryan, good morning. Been gone a while. Missed the show with the schedule. What a game. Penn State had no wide receiver receptions. That's one thing. If you want to criticize James Franklin, you can go there. They didn't complete a single ball to a wide receiver. Not one. Now, I get it, man. Tyler Warren's awesome. And maybe you're playing a little conservative. I don't know. I don't know the game plan. But that's a problem. You want to have a criticism? You can criticize that for sure. Brad, were you at the post-game press conference 2011 National Championship when Bobby Hebert called out Les Miles? I was. It was a very uncomfortable moment because Les stopped at one point, was like, is there a question? Because Bobby was just going on a rant. Anyway, yeah, I was there. Patrick, Gummogan, snowing in Birmingham with Notre Dame now advancing to the finals. Are you going to keep picking against them so they keep winning a la reverse psychology? I don't think they beat their remaining teams. That's why they play the games on the field. Exactly. That's why the playoff is awesome. Because it doesn't matter what you think or I think or the people in the hotel ballroom in suburban Dallas that pick the field think. Go play games. Go play games and let's see. Isn't this way more fun? Wasn't that way more fun last night than just having a 14 playoff and letting people assume what they think would be best? Because if that were the case, you'd have had Oregon, Penn State, and Georgia, Texas. That would have been your playoff. Isn't what we've had way better to actually see these football games? It's like collectively people had to see this to have their eyes open to it. Never mind the fact that we watch playoffs in literally every other sport in the history of mankind. And they're awesome. I don't know why people are like, oh, too many teams. Are you kidding me? Too much football. Too many great games. No, not interested. And then there's blowouts in the first round. Oh, really? Because you see blowouts in the NCAA tournament every year in the first round. Too many games. Should we pare down the NCAA tournament? Hey, Jason. Good morning. Seth Franklin's the coach who recruited Drew Aller. He is, and Drew Aller's been great. Objectively, he's been a great quarterback. It might be a first rounder. He made a bonehead decision. It happens. I mean, there's still young people playing a game. Big moment. He made a bad decision. Brian Wynn, good morning. Apparently, the third year for Brian Kelly's been good for Notre Dame. Yeah, right. Chandler, morning Scone. People compare Freeman to Brian Kelly's success is silly. Freeman took over a Les Miles parallel program. Kelly took over a dumpster fire. It's absolutely true. Also, as I've said, Brian Kelly has had missteps. I've talked about all of them. He's had missteps that has set LSU's progress back. Not retaining Corey Raymond, not retaining Greg McMahon, hiring Brian Poling as recruiting coordinator, Matt House. But to his credit, he has identified those problems and fixed them all. I think they've got the staff where they need to be, and they finally got recruiting and NIL where it needs to be. Darren, great point about Brian Kelly versus Marcus Freeman. Brian Kelly had to build the car at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman needed to not crash it. I like the way you put that, but it's true. I mean, and it's a difference from what's happened here. I mean, when Brian Kelly took the job at LSU, he took a job that was unstable. He took a program that went 5-5 and 6-7 in consecutive years and had 38 scholarship players in the roster, and you had to go sign 30 guys out of the portal just to field a team. It was a different situation. So, but he recognized that. I think he was willing to say, I'm going to take 2 steps back because I know I'll have the ability to take 10 steps forward. Brian Jones, I remember we tried to get Marcus Freeman years ago, but he didn't like Coach O's antics, decided to stay at Notre Dame. In 2021, so Marcus Freeman was the DC at Cincinnati, and that was a great Cincinnati team. As a matter of fact, Mike Denbrock, remember, was the OC of that Cincinnati team. Denbrock and Freeman were the coordinators on that Cincinnati team. And Freeman was a very, very hot name, and LSU tried to hire him after the Bo Pelini fiasco. And he ultimately picked Notre Dame over LSU. Now I'm thinking, was that when they? No, because he hired Pelini. It was 21 because he hired Pelini. He hired Pelini sight unseen. Pete Ogeron, man. God. He hired Bo Pelini because Pete Carroll told him to. Didn't even interview him. Remember, and he said afterwards, like, I'll never do that. I'll never hire someone without never interview him again. I'll never do that again. It's like, you actually admitted you didn't interview a coordinator that you hired. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the page, share the post. Thanks for being there with us, y'all. All of our great sponsors that are linked in the description on YouTube and tagged on Facebook. If you need North Peach, go to Brock. You need a roof, call Parrish. Unique Physique, of course, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the weight loss shots you hear so much about. Never any contracts, lowest prices. They actually do 3-month pricing. So you can get 3 months of medicine at a time and save $100 when you do that. Learn more. Telemed, they can ship your medicine. We're in the country. So even if you're outside of Baton Rouge or Louisiana, Unique Physique. Of course, Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. All of our sponsors, too, their websites and everything yours are all scrolling here on the bottom. So please support them all. Appreciate everybody. Mitch Cumstein. Mitch. Notre Dame going to be destroyed by Ohio State. They ain't won anything yet. I think, Mitch, if Notre Dame's been very impressive, and Notre Dame's defense is very good. I've said that all year. Like, they're not a good defense by Notre Dame standards. They're objectively a good defense by anybody's standards. Like, they are a really good defense. I do think if Ohio State is playing at the level they've played the last 2 games, then I don't think anybody can beat them. But we'll see. Marcus Freeman would not have beaten that 2012 Alabama team nor the 2018 Clemson team. Those teams were very good. Brian Wynn, good morning. Bram, expecting 3 to 6 inches of snow in Knoxville. Not interested. Bird Boy, even though the game turned offensive in the second half, it was very apparent how much better those defenses were than what we've seen from LSU recently. Absolute fact. Those are 2 really good defenses. Guy Brooks, Notre Dame got a draw in the CFP. Got Georgia with their backup quarterback in a game against an average QB1. Terrible throw for the deciding interception. That happens, man. Penn State got a great draw, too. Penn State got to play SMU and Boise. And then a Notre Dame team with a really bad quarterback, which, by the way, again, Like, hat tip to Mike Denbrock, who keeps finding ways to make that offense go when Riley Leonard is really limited. They do not have receivers on the perimeter. And they're down a couple of starting offensive linemen. It's really impressive what Denbrock's doing. Philip, morning, Matt. I think the hit pieces on BK are a bit much. You congratulate Notre Dame without crapping on Brian Kelly. One USA Today article said Brian Kelly is more upset about Notre Dame winning than Penn State, which I think is crazy. I didn't see the USA Today article. We did talk yesterday to Blake Topmeyer from USA Today on it, incidentally, because he wrote a piece yesterday that was like, if you hate Brian Kelly now, get ready to be absolutely livid next year because LSU is going to be really good. Was basically what he said. It is odd, man. I've never really understood all the Brian Kelly hate. I don't know where that comes from, what that's rooted in, but people have heroes and villains and people they cheer for and against. And I mean, I never really had an opinion on Brian Kelly before he became the LSU coach. Like I didn't really care about Notre Dame. I mean, the LSU played Notre Dame a couple times and they won both games. I mean, remember the Music City Bowl in 2014 and then the Citrus Bowl in 2017. So I never really had an opinion on him one way or another, but I mean, I thought he was a really good coach, but it is interesting to see continue to see all the hate for Brian Kelly. Hey, Kenneth, good morning. Love the show. Thank you so much. Brian, nice win for Kim Mulkey. Yeah, how about the buzzer beater last night? That was great. 3-0 in the league. Lester, good morning. Austin, good morning. Brett, good morning. Kyle, good morning. Oh, man, y'all. I got to go. Good morning, Stone Musso. Good morning from snowy Arkansas. Congrats, Notre Dame. Fans are quick to dismiss Kelly. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There is very much a lover scorned feeling from Notre Dame fans because Brian Kelly left. A lot of them will say they were ready for him to go anyway, and maybe so. I mean, you're somewhere for 12 years. I mean, that's a long time, and but I mean, it's also like when you get dumped. Do you have great things to say about your ex when she dumps you? You probably have the bruised ego, hurt feelings there. Notre Dame's not used to that. So I think that's a lot of what's rooted in their feeling toward Brian Kelly. Like LSU fans had disdain for Nick Saban because he went to a team in your division and beat you every year. I mean, it was just really hard to stomach and watch, All right, it's 7:46. I got to go. My apologies, y'all. Have an awesome day. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. All of our sponsors are here and linked on the description in YouTube, tagged on Facebook, and Locked on LSU is live, so please go check that out right now. I do have a deeper conversation about the Brian Kelly, Marcus Freeman stuff. If you want to go watch that or listen to it right now, that'd be great. And we'll see you for AFR 3. Have a great day.